What is your greatest weakness is one of those job interview questions that has a right way and a wrong way to answer it. So let's talk about what is the right way and what is the wrong way. This question can feel like a trick because why would you want to reveal weaknesses to people who are trying to hire you? But the real trick comes in understanding the right way to talk through it. If you're new here, my name is Mike Pedito and I've been helping companies hire and build their talent teams for almost 20 years. I have hired in Fortune 500 companies as well as early stage startups where I was the only person in charge of deciding what the talent strategy should be. I'm also the author of the upcoming book, Yes, You Are Being Judged, which I wrote because I was sick of job search books being written by people who were too out of touch. Not only have I been actively hiring in this job market, but I've also been on this job market as a job seeker. I've gone through layoffs and I've gone through job changes in this job market that a lot of people are struggling with. I have built a reputation for giving advice that is simple to understand and actionable, not advice built off of fear tactics and clickbait. The first thing I'm going to talk about today is why this question gets asked, because having an understanding of it is important. Then we're going to talk about the wrong way to approach it as well as the right way to approach it. And I'm going to give you my own example of how I answer this question in a way that you should be able to repeat and apply to your own weaknesses you want to talk about. One of the big reasons this question gets asked is because, like it or not, one of the biggest traits in the workplace that matters is self-awareness and accountability. While I personally may not ask this question, and a lot of interviewers may not directly say it to you, a lot of the questions they're asking are still built around the same idea of trying to see you demonstrate those things. So much of my advice is based on talking about how things are on the job market, not how we wish it was, because talking about how things are is what is going to help us prepare and do well in an interview today, not just think about how we wish we didn't have to do it instead. So even if you hate this question, think nobody should ever ask it, people are going to ask you it, so you might as well be ready to answer it. With the goal being self-awareness, let's also make sure that we are aware of some of the big mistakes people make when they answer this question. The biggest mistake people make is pretending they're perfect. Do not answer you can't really think of one or that you don't really have any. The second thing you want to make sure to do is not answer with some silly kind of joke like carbs or chocolate. You might get a laugh, but you're trying to get a job. Another big common mistake is trying to do something a little too clever, like turning your weakness into a strength. You might be familiar with the Michael Scott clip.
I work too hard, I care too much, and sometimes I can be too invested in my job.
Don't do that. It's cringy and it's not showing any of this self-awareness we're looking for. And the fourth and really big mistake a lot of people make is picking a weakness that's detrimental to the job. While we do want to have some honesty in this question, being too honest and picking a weakness that is actually going to make you worse at this job is not a good strategy. A perfect example would be if you are applying for a sales position and you say, I hate talking to strangers or calling people. That is going to cost you the job because that is a weakness that is going to make you bad at this job. When it comes to picking the weakness we want to talk about, we want to really think through things that we do actually struggle with in the workplace or previously had. We want to make sure that they are not detrimental to the job, and we want to make sure that we know how we can try to improve in those things. I personally have two greatest weaknesses that I go back to, which is ironic that they're opposites, but what can I say? They're both weaknesses of mine. The first is that I tend to react too quickly to things, and the second is that I tend to overanalyze things and take too long to make a decision. Yes, they can both be true, depending on the situation. When you've picked the weakness you want to go with, the next step is figuring out what are things that I've done to try and get better at this, and what can I continue to do to get better at this, as well as an example of a time that it has come up. So now I'm going to put it all together. If I were to use the example that I react too quickly to things, and rather than even calling it a weakness, I'm going to think about it as an area of opportunity to get better. A little bit cheesy, a little bit cringy, but you know what? It sounds better. One big area of opportunity for me in my career is that I tend to react a little bit too quickly to things sometimes. While it is good that I'm able to make decisions and move forward and feel confident in doing that, I also have to realize that sometimes my gut instinct or how I want to reply right in the moment isn't always the best way to do something. So one thing I really started doing with hiring managers was establishing a way we would do feedback that allowed them to give me the feedback first and anything I should know, and then we would set a time to meet and talk about it a little bit later after that. This cut down on the number of times that I would push back too quickly or maybe get a little bit argumentative because I was trying to defend a candidate, and let me really listen and digest to what was being said to me and approach the conversation in a way that was going to be beneficial for everyone, since we are all trying to achieve the same thing, which is hire the right person. Moving forward, a big step I would take at any new company is establishing that timeline and idea early to make it clear with hiring managers we are on the same team and that I tend to move very quickly, and that to me hiring is always the number one thing I have to do that day, where for you it might be a little bit further down the list because you're managing other things. So by establishing this meeting where we can talk later, I won't be forcing the urgency on you, and I'll also have time to think about what you said before we really get into the conversation. An answer like this really demonstrates that I'm taking time to think about what's good for my career and good for the team that I'm working with. And something like that is what companies are looking for when they ask this question. It also comes off as real and not something that's just cringy and trying to win an interview, but really having a conversation to help them understand what it'll be like working with me and get a feeling for if I'm going to be the best person for the job for what they need. If you enjoy the way I talk through interview questions and the way I approach these things, like and follow, subscribe to this channel, comment and let me know if you think this makes sense or not, and maybe the way that you would approach a greatest weakness question. And also let me know what other questions you'd like to see me talk through in the way that I do. Again, be sure to follow me on social media and check out my website to get updates on the book release, because I do think this is going to be something that talks about the job search in a way that not many other books do, and hopefully it'll be something that you enjoy reading. People who sign up to get info on the release will also be entered to win some prizes, free books, things like that. The release should be coming soon, but I don't have an exact date yet because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but I'm not going to say it's the greatest weakness answer because it's cheesy, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.